Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the 6th curriculum in Module 2, Lesson 1, and that is the Waldorf Curriculum or the Steiner education. Let's start with the history of the Waldorf Curriculum or the Steiner education. This curriculum started in 1919 when Emil Molt, an owner of the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory in Stuttgart, Germany, was looking to develop a school for the children of his employees. Molt was looking for a curriculum that does not only target the intellectual needs of the children, but also speak to the spiritual essence and humanity, thus helping the children to flourish or survive in the turbulent aftermath of the Great War. In order to develop this curriculum or this pedagogy, he approached Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian philosopher and lecturer. Steiner agreed to take on the task, to take on the challenge, under the conditions that the school should be, first, it should be self-governed. It should be, second, artistically and culturally enriching. Third, it should be comprehensive, and when you say comprehensive, the academics should not be separated with vocational tracks. And fourth, it should be open or inclusive to all the workers or employees, children, and that is including both girls and boys from every walk of life. Steiner insisted that his school's teachers perceive and respond to the developmental needs of the children. The intended outcome of this curriculum would be that children will become independent thinkers and problem solvers, capable of creatively meeting the challenges of their time. This inclusive and forward-thinking spirit of idealism, commitment, and engagement with the world continues to be a hallmark of the Waldorf education even up to our time. This is also a worldwide independent school movement developed in Europe by Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian philosopher, social reformer, and visionary. A true Waldorf school is accredited by the Association of Waldorf Schools of North America, or that is the AWSNA. Each school is individually owned and operated. Remember, their first condition is it should be self-governed. So that is why it is individually owned and operated, and most of these schools are non-profit organizations. A board of directors govern the school, which often consists of parents. Parents play a very significant role in this curriculum, like the other types of curricula that I have discussed, and included in these curricula is the Reggio Emilia also. The school structure relies heavily on parental involvement and communication, with a curriculum deeply focused on music and art. So you see, like the other curricula that I have discussed, the Waldorf curriculum or the Steiner education also underscores the value of including parents in the education of children, and their activities also heavily focus on music and art. And if you can remember, if you have watched already the video on the Reggio Emilia approach or the Reggio Emilia curriculum, they also have activities pertaining to music and art. So they're quite similar in this aspect. What are the philosophy, principles, and goals of the Waldorf curriculum? This curriculum aims to produce well-rounded individuals who are able to create meaning in their lives. When we say well-rounded individuals, this curriculum does not only give value to one area of development. Rather, it gives value to all the domains of development because it targets the holistic development of the child. It wants to develop the child as a whole. That is why no domain of development is left behind. This curriculum is also based on the philosophy that prioritizes the arts and the imagination. If you can remember in the earlier part of this lecture video, I mentioned that one of their important focus is the use of music and arts. This is how they develop the children holistically, the use of arts and music, and of course, the fostering of their imagination. According to the Steiner philosophy, the human being is a threefold being of spirit, soul, and body whose capacities unfold three developmental stages on the path to adulthood. What are these three developmental stages? We have the early childhood, the middle childhood, and adolescence. The Waldorf method distinguishes three broad stages in child development that each last approximately 7 years. The first stage focuses on hands-on learning activities and through creative play. The second focuses on artistic expression, social development, creative and analytic thinking. And the third stage encourages critical understanding and morality. Let's go over each stage, and let's start with early childhood, and this is known to be or characterized with the development of the limbs through doing. We know that young children from birth to age 7 live primarily through the use of their various senses, and they learn best through imagination. That is why maybe you have noticed young children in this stage almost putting everything in their mouth, and that is actually part of their wanting to understand the environment and even the materials that can be found in their environment. That is why if you have noticed young children, particularly like toddlers, put toys in their mouth, and actually that is a way of their exploration, a way of understanding what this material is, what their environment is. And take note that these children also learn through imitation or by observing other people. And I believe if you have watched the previous lesson videos, you already have learned about this. Young children in their early childhood stage learn like sponges. They absorb easily the information coming from their environment. That is why it is really very important that adults, including parents, family members, and teachers, should be careful with their language and even their behaviors, because children can easily copy these behaviors. So watch out for your language or your behavior, specifically when the children are around. Early childhood educators in the Waldorf curriculum support each child. And how do they do that? They actually provide gentle yet sensory-rich environments and play-based activities that encourage the young child to investigate, to discover the natural world, explore social relationships, and expand imaginative capacities. These activities lay crucial foundations for intellectual, emotional, and physical development. That's why children in the early childhood stage need to be given a lot of play-based or hands-on, minds-on activities, because this is the best time that they can really easily grasp whatever knowledge or skill you want these children to develop, because this is the stage that they can easily catch up whatever it is that you provide them, because they are like sponges in this period of time. The second stage is the middle childhood, and this is characterized by the development of the heart through imagination. Between the ages of 7 and 14, children learn best through lessons that touch their hearts and enliven their creative forces. That is why the Waldorf Lower School curriculum is alive with fairy tales. They also have fables, mythological sagas, and biographies of historical figures. Waldorf elementary teachers also integrate storytelling, drama, rhythmic movement, visual arts, and music into their daily activities. And this weaves a tapestry that brings each subject to life, and this enriches the whole educational experience of a child in a Waldorf school. Entrusted with the essential task of accompanying their students on a several-year journey, the Waldorf teachers, particularly teachers handling grades 1 to 8, have a role similar to that of an effective parent. They also guide the children's formal academic learning while awakening their moral development and increasing their awareness of their place in this world. The third stage is the adolescence, and this is characterized by the development of the mind through discernment of the world. So by the ages 14 to 21, this already marks the development of the independent intellect, and along with it, the ability to examine the world abstractly and exercise discernment, judgment, and critical thinking. So this is already in the students in the high school levels. Students in Waldorf high schools are given increasing autonomy over their education under the mentorship of teachers who are specialists in their fields. What are the beliefs about children and how they learn? What are the beliefs of the Waldorf curriculum in terms of how children learn? In Waldorf education, the learning process is essentially threefold. And this learning process engages the head, the heart, and the hands. Or it involves thinking, feeling, and doing. So this is really very interesting. The Waldorf curriculum is indeed interesting. This threefold principle is the basis out of which Waldorf teachers work to nurture and engage each child through a curriculum and methodology that integrates academics, arts, and practical skills. So this is now going back to the idea that I emphasized earlier, that this Waldorf curriculum is very particular in developing the child as a whole, and that they focus in the holistic development instead of just focusing in one area of development. Let's proceed now to the curriculum focus of the Waldorf curriculum. What are their curricular areas? Okay, so let's have here the first in the list. Their curriculum emphasizes creativity and artistic expression. So they value the use of arts and music. They value the development of the creative sense of each child, and they nurture the artistic expression of each learner by providing children or learners various hands-on tasks or activities. This curriculum also offers programs for preschool up to 12th grade. This is also a broad curriculum because remember, this is inclusive of a comprehensive curriculum because this curriculum targets the development of the child as a whole. It wants to develop the child holistically. It wants to produce well-rounded individuals. And in order to do that, they are providing a broad curriculum to their learners. Their curriculum includes academics. They also have art and music education. They have physical education and emotional and social education. So you see, this curriculum is true to its goal that children should be developed as a whole. Not just good in academics, but also in the other areas of learning domains. This curriculum is devised to be responsive to the needs of childhood, including allowing children to set their own pace and use their imagination and creativity. It also encourages a focus on play, not academics, in children's early years. So this curriculum uses play as a main medium to expose children to various learning opportunities. And it's sad because some parents do not actually understand the value of play in the lives of young children. They want to see their children to just do paper and pencil activities because they believe that these traditional activities will really harness their children's cognitive or intellectual skills. And I really hope that parents will get to understand how important play is in the lives of young children. And early childhood educators are one of the few people who can actually help parents to understand that. Next is, the basis of the Waldorf curriculum is developing the human being, and the aim is to prepare the children for life. Waldorf education believes that it has the power to awaken in growing human beings those forces and abilities that learners will need for the rest of their lives in order to work competently for their community or contemporaries and to have a livelihood that will sustain them. Because remember, one of the focus of this curriculum is practical skills. That's why this curriculum also aims to help children to be prepared in life. The method of teaching is based on an in-depth study of child development and will vary with the age of the child. The way the lessons are presented are equally as important as the content. Thus, the term Waldorf curriculum implies a description of the whole teaching approach, method, and content. So, this curriculum follows the principles of child development because this curriculum gives value to the uniqueness of the child and not pressuring children to do things of which they're not yet ready to do. Another is, this curriculum is a methodology that encourages self-discovery, research, and engagement with the subject matter so that a proper body of knowledge can be built. The curriculum also places emphasis on practical work. Earlier, I mentioned about practical skills to help children be prepared of their roles to take when they're going to grow up. And this includes intrinsic to each year, such as activities as handwork. They also have practical work activities like woodwork, gardening, metalwork, craft, and design. Moreover, Waldorf's emphasis on entrepreneurial insight and effort is also developed to be used in the meaningful participation in society. So they are also taught simple entrepreneurial skills or concepts. This curriculum is also known for their mixed classes, like the previous curricula that I have discussed, the Montessori and the other curricula, which are also known to be mixed in terms of the learner composition in the class. In Waldorf schools, obtaining a broad social mix is a basic principle of the work. It is generally considered desirable that we should live in a tolerant and compassionate society. The attitudes we develop about childhood lay the foundation for this. If social awareness rather than class or ethnic division is to be achieved, then the school classes need to consist of children with many abilities and social contexts so that the learners can discover and can actually understand that everyone has an equal value regardless of their circumstances, gender, ethnic, or religious background. And this is the main principle why Waldorf Curriculum makes use of mixed classes to teach these important concepts to children. A fundamental component of the Waldorf Curriculum is the inclusion of eurythmy as a subject. Exclusively taught in Waldorf school, it is an art. Eurythmy is an art of movement that engages the whole human being, integrating bodily movement with movements that arise within the soul. These inner movements that give rise to speech and music are transformed into outer movements that are also very considered important in the development of the learner. Let's proceed to their curriculum ideas. Their curriculum ideas include the following. First is Anthroposophy, and this is the incorporation of inner development in areas such as intuition, inspiration, and imagination into natural science that could eventually be evaluated on the same basis. Next is moral responsibility. They also give value to moral development or the development of morality. And they teach the principle that one should treat others as one would like others to treat themselves. So this is like the golden rule. Third is social competence and personality development. Then earlier I mentioned about eurythmy, and this is very unique in the Waldorf curriculum. This is known to be the expressive movement of art to poetry, music, and plays. Learning moods combined with pitch, tone, rhythm, and grammar. Then another is they also have experiential learning because they give value on the hands-on development or hands-on learning. That is why they do music, dance, and theater. They also have writing and literature. They do legends and myths. And they are not just simply subjects to be read about and tested, but they are really experienced because they go through these things in hands-on experiences. Let's now proceed to the curriculum focus for the following grade levels. Until the age 6 or 7, children learn basically through the use of physical activities and imitation. The kindergarten learners experience activities that involve arts and crafts, puppetry, eurythmy, singing, healthy physical play, home life skills, and social courtesies. In the early grade school years, children learn best when academics are conveyed through painting, drama, music, storytelling, and other direct experiences that stir their emotions. You can actually say that in the Waldorf curriculum, they also teach academics. It's just that, unlike the traditional curriculum, Waldorf curriculum does not present academics through teacher lectures, but this curriculum presents academics through the use of concrete and direct experiences such as storytelling, music, drama, painting, and other creative expression activities. In grades 6 through 8, children are now moving to more abstract thinking. And in the high school, themes and methods stimulate higher level intellectual skills like analytic, synthetic, and evaluative thinking in adolescence. Specifically in the early childhood, they actually learn through creative play, and there is a focus on developmentally appropriate education. We already have learned about developmentally appropriate practice in Module 1, Lesson 1. And this curriculum emphasizes the use of physical, emotional, and of course, the fostering of mental health. Creativity and self-expression rather than academics are the core of children's learning. Activities include dress up, play acting, cooking, building, singing, and painting. You can actually say that Waldorf curriculum highlights the use of practical activities, hands-on activities, and concrete or direct experiences. Outdoor play is also a major part of the Waldorf early childhood education. That is why this curriculum is really very interesting, particularly for young children. This Waldorf curriculum exposes children to the nature and the larger world around them. That is why they do a lot of outdoor activities or nature walk or picnic. Teachers in the Waldorf curriculum offer guidance when necessary and model good behavior rather than forcing their students to undergo formal instruction. This is definitely the opposite of the traditional approach of teaching young children. Also, Waldorf education prohibits or does not allow the use of videos, computers, and electronics. So this is really very interesting because unlike what we are seeing right now in our schools or even in our homes, children are already allowed to use various forms of gadgets. But if we talk about Waldorf curriculum, specifically in early childhood, these computers, electronics, and other forms of gadgets are definitely not allowed because they want to give time for children to explore their environment, understand their environment, engage in various direct experiences instead of putting so much attention to the use of gadgets. So I hope we can also apply that in our own schools in the Philippine settings for young children. In terms of Waldorf curriculum in the elementary levels, there is focus on skill building, and the subjects include handwork and crafts such as knitting, crochet, sewing, cross-stitch, basic weaving, toy making, and woodworking. So you can actually say that indeed practical skills are given emphasis in the Waldorf curriculum. They also have music, including singing and playing the pentatonic flute, recorder, and string and wind, brass, and percussion instruments. So they are also exposed to these types of musical instruments. They also have foreign languages, which vary from one school to another, from one school location to another, but their foreign languages include the learning of Spanish, French, Japanese, and German. They also do art, which includes watercolor painting, form drawing, beeswax and clay modeling, and perspective drawing. And they also have movement activities with emphasis on eurythmy, gymnastics, and group games. Waldorf curriculum is varied or different from one early childhood school to another. It's actually different from early childhood to 8th grade. To learn more about Waldorf curriculum, you can actually visit this link here. In particular, Waldorf curriculum also emphasizes no grades, meaning to say no grades are given in a Waldorf elementary school. Academic education is not emphasized. In fact, academic education like reading is not yet directly done until children reach 2nd grade, or that is grade 2 in our setting. Instead of teaching children to read when they are 5 or 6 years old, teachers tell or read stories to children, and this encourages oral mastery before reading education begins. This is entirely different with our practice in our schools in the Philippines because unfortunately, some schools still follow the traditional curriculum, and these schools give high value in cognitive development instead of holistic development. In Waldorf curriculum, writing is taught first before reading is taught. Let's proceed to the roles of the teacher. While Waldorf education places children at the heart of its pedagogy, Waldorf schools depend on the teacher as a fulcrum for the educational process. That is why the teacher plays a very important role in a Waldorf curriculum. The individual who chooses to teach in a Waldorf school brings his or her full self to the development of others, providing mentoring, development, and affection that sustain the students for life. Waldorf teachers, are expected to develop a willingness to work on their own meditative life. They do this in a way in which learners are considered as individuals, so that a clearer conception is built up of what they will need in the next lesson. The consistent effort of the teacher is to carefully observe the nature of the growing child in all aspects. And if you already have watched the previous videos, the previous curricula that we already have discussed, or the previous curricula that I already talked about, is also like this Waldorf curriculum, because like the other curricula that I already have discussed, this Waldorf curriculum also emphasizes the role of the teacher in terms of conducting careful observations of the learning activities of children. These observation activities that are conducted by the teachers open doors for unlimited potential. Specialist teachers communicate with the parents about what they are doing in their lessons. Teachers also explore new topics and allow themselves to be guided by the exploration of students. This type of teaching encourages learning for the sake of learning instead of for the sake of passing an exam or scoring well on grading rubrics. Because in Waldorf curriculum, they really value the learning process of the child. Even if this child cannot yet do reading or writing activities right away, they value and respect the unique pace of each child in terms of learning, and they don't pressure learners to be able to do this and that at all. Kindergarten children are with the same two teachers for a full 3 years. This is also similar to the Reggio Emilia Reggio approach, wherein the teacher stays with the same group of children for 3 years. And this creates a home-like environment and a bonding experience. So the Reggio Emilia and the Waldorf curriculum are similar in terms of the time spent with learners, because the learners have the same teachers for several years. For the next 8 years, a primary teacher, also called as a class teacher, is supported by numerous subject teachers and guides the class, knows each student well, strives to call forth the best in each one, and partners with the parents to help the child's path unfold. Beginning in grade 9, 2 teachers serve as class sponsors who oversee the social welfare of the class. Unlike in the Philippine setting, we normally have 1 teacher per class. But in the Waldorf curriculum, particularly beginning in grade 9, the learners or the students already have 2 teachers in the class. The typical or regular teacher duties in a Waldorf curriculum include the following. They have clear communication with students, colleagues, and parents. The teachers teach curriculum focused on developmentally appropriate education, create and plan lessons and activities encouraging enthusiastic learning, intellectual growth, self-esteem, and social responsibility. Create assignments and assess student progress, although they don't really make use of grades or numerical grades. Collaborate with teachers and parents. They also lead discussions, demonstrations, and other in-class activities or those activities done inside the classroom. and deliver core subjects as well as integrate skill building and artistic subjects. What about the roles of the learners in a Waldorf curriculum? Learners play an active role in their education. And I think if you will review the previous curricula that we have learned in this module, all the learners in the curricula that were already discussed really play an active role in their learning process. Rather than relying on pre-digested material presented to them in conventional textbooks, learners create their own textbooks, beautifully drawn journals with stories, poems, essays, maps, illustration, and other learning materials. These are really amazing outputs done by learners. Learners also do activities that focus on the development of their head, heart, and hand. Remember the threefold principle that governs the Waldorf curriculum. All the learners in the Waldorf curriculum engage in multiple learning opportunities that develop their head, their heart, and their hand. What about the roles of the parents? Earlier, I mentioned that this Waldorf curriculum gives so much value to the participation and involvement of the parents in their children's education. From one point of view, parents are the founders of the Waldorf schools all over the globe. It is the parents who put their faith and their money into the teachers who would realize their goals on behalf of their children. How we wish all parents are like that. Parents who really give value to the education of their children. All parents are asked to make their home a place that reflects the values of Waldorf education and offers children a sense of continuity and coherence between school and home. If you're going to review the previous lessons that we have, particularly in the previous 4 curricula that we already have learned in this module, they have the same role. The parents have the same role, and that is to ensure that there is continuity in what the children are learning at school and at home. So they highlight the role that parents play in terms of making sure that whatever it is that their children are learning at school should also be reinforced when the children are at home. Parent education is a worthy and important activity that the teachers can use to create a deeper understanding of the values and intentions of Waldorf education. But the board, teachers, and administration also need to be educated by the parents, because of course we know that parents are very knowledgeable about their children. So why not make use of the parents' knowledge into an additional information where teachers and schools can make use of in terms of planning more educational experiences for the child. Some parents become involved in the parent council. They become officers. They also become part of committees of the board, while others remain on the periphery, contributing independently. They gather together in groups called classes to support the work of the teachers of their children. Parents are often invited to help out with school activities, and I think in the Philippine schools we also do that. By doing this, we allow children to see how their parents are a part of the school community. And it gives children an idea that their parents are also involved in their education. Parents' evenings are also part in the Waldorf curriculum. Parents receive information about what is happening in class, teaching periods, and the various developmental phases of the children. At these meetings, the parent meetings or parent evenings, parents will get a deeper understanding of what is covered in class or issues they see at home. Some subjects are determined by the class parents and communicated to the class teacher. A group of parents may also request a teacher to organize a parents' evening about a subject of their choice. So you see how involved parents are in the Waldorf curriculum, that they get to suggest topics which they believe will really be helpful in terms of helping in their children's education. Some parents also volunteer to play the important role of class parents. They create a bridge of communication between the rest of the parents in the class and the teachers. In addition, the class parents assist in the preparation and carrying out of activities and inspire other parents to actively participate as well. Once a year, all class parents meet with the school leader to discuss any relevant matters in their respective classes. Many activities solely rely on the assistance of parents. Parents regularly help out with fundraising activities. I think some Philippine schools also do this one. They also assist in trips, annual festivities, and plays. Parents also lend a hand with craft lessons and reading support because, of course, there are also parents who are good with crafts and art activities and reading. So these parents are invited to the class and talk about this and help the teachers in facilitating craft activities or art activities or reading activities with the children. The annual bazaar is completely organized by parents. They also do annual or yearly bazaar. The use of expertise of parents. There are parents in the Participation Council who often represent an area of their professional practice such as communication, facility management, and IT. Like for example, there are parents who are doctors. So these parents are invited as resource persons when there will be topics in science about health or childhood diseases and many other things. Some parents are also good in art activities, so they are also invited to do class activities relating to arts and crafts. While some parents serve the school through collaborative work on parent council and on various committees, some parents serve as board of trustees. Gifts of time and talent are just as important as financial support. So some parents, they have this idea that they will no longer be involved in their education in terms of participating in activities because they will just give the teachers or the school money or any form of financial support. Well, that is good and that can actually help the school and the teachers, but you know, parents also should be involved in worthwhile activities aside from just giving financial support to the school. They can be involved in various ways which will not really directly relate to the use of money. Some parents can serve as speakers. They can serve as volunteers. They can also serve as officers, and actually they can do a lot of things because parents have various skills and knowledge, and these can be utilized in supporting the teachers' activities or the school's activities so that the children's education will be really fruitful. Many volunteers report that they have experienced deep opportunities for growth. Parents say that one, as well as an increased sense of community through their involvement with this wonderful school. And the parents in the Waldorf school actually attested to this. In the lower classes and kindergarten, parents prepare for annual festivities during work evenings at school. Imagine they still have time to be involved in their children's activities at school. It is self-evident that not all parents have the same availability. Everyone contributes as much as possible because of course we know that parents are generally working, some are not working, but each parent makes sure that they get to contribute, they get to help so that they will be able to support the teacher's activity in helping the child learn and develop as a whole. In addition, there is an evening about school readiness for kindergarten parents. That's how they support parents, especially those parents with kindergartners. Parents and teachers share a common bond, a pedagogical relation to the child. Because you can actually imagine that the child is the prime component that connects the teacher and the parents, or the school and the home. So if we can actually maximize that kind of relationship for the benefit of the child, it will be totally helpful to the whole being of the child. Let's proceed to the daily schedule of the Waldorf Curriculum. A typical day of learners in the kindergarten, because I just chose a sample schedule for kindergarten and nursery levels, will include the following. First, they have arrival in the early childhood play yard. I think this is common to all types of schedules regardless of the curricula. The arrival. Then they also have outside or outdoor play. They do circle time, like they share their experiences, they sing songs, recite poems, do finger plays, and many other stuff. And then they have snack and they have inside play. They also have lunch and then story, rest time, snack, and another outside play and dismissal to parents or extended care. You can actually see, looking at the daily schedule, that academics is not really given so much emphasis. But then again, they also teach academics to learners, but they don't do it in explicit or obvious means. They actually integrate academics in the various hands-on activities of learners like poetry, art, music, movement, eurythmy, painting, and many other direct or concrete experiences. Let's proceed to the learning environment and learning materials in the Waldorf curriculum. Like the other classrooms or learning environments, this Waldorf curriculum or classrooms have beautiful and home-like classrooms. It's safe and it is nurturing, where children can enjoy their childhood and be protected from harmful influences of the broader society. And instead of being run by administrators concerned with economic and political motives, Waldorf schools are primarily run democratically by the teachers. This is really very unique because this is unlike the usual schools that we know in the Philippines. Additional features in the Waldorf curriculum. The benefits of Waldorf education include the following. First, children enjoy an unhurried childhood. When we say unhurried, they are not actually pressured to learn these skills, to be able to count, to be able to read, to be able to write their name at an early age. If you have noticed, that is what most schools are doing. They force children to be able to write their names at a very early age. They pressure their kids to be able to identify the letters and the sounds in the alphabet and many other things. And these shouldn't be the things that we should focus on. Children are free to explore nature and to go where their wide-eyed sense of wonder and imagination takes them. In our frenetic world, where pushing children to hurry up or fall behind has become the norm, Waldorf education takes the point of view that childhood is something to be savored. It is something to be enjoyed. By being free to develop according to their own natural rhythms, Waldorf-educated children enjoy full and rich childhoods, gaining the experiences they need to become healthy, self-actualized individuals. So that's how beautiful Waldorf curriculum is, because they don't pressure children to excel academically, unlike the traditional aims of traditional curriculum. Second is learning is hands-on and age-appropriate. They respect the uniqueness of each child in their class. You won't find young children hovering around a computer in a Waldorf school classroom, or missing a walk in the woods or a trip to the farm in order to sit and cram for standardized tests. They don't do that. They actually prohibit the use of computer and gadgets on specific ages, particularly those children in the early child stage. In Waldorf education, learning is an experiential activity. They get to experience things. They don't just act as a passive learner listening to teachers lecture. They actually engage. They are totally engaged in their learning because of their engagement with various hands-on, direct, concrete experiences in multiple forms. It's not a matter of doing without certain experiences. It's a matter of introducing children to each experience at the right time in their development. If you go back to the principles of developmentally appropriate practice, learning is unique. Each child is unique. So you cannot compare one child to another child, even though they are of the same age. When it's time to teach the merits, uses, and hows of technology, Waldorf school teachers do so. And the knowledge, self-awareness, and problem-solving skills children develop through years of hands-on inquiry is of far greater value to them as learners and as human beings than anything they could have picked up by sitting at a screen of a computer. The third is in-depth study enriches learning experiences. The advantages of block learning have long been recognized in Waldorf education. In their daily morning or main lesson, Waldorf students from 1st through 12th grade spend up 2 hours concentrating on one subject, which rotates every 3 to 4 weeks among the academic disciplines. Unlike the traditional schedules, they only have 30 minutes to 1 hour per subject, and that is quite too much for a child to absorb the information that is needed for that subject. Students have the chance to study each subject thoroughly. So they have a lot of time. They have a lot of time to digest whatever it is that they are learning at hand. And from a number of vantage points, which contributes to their enjoyment and their understanding of the subject matter. There is better understanding and retention of the concepts that they are learning because children are given ample of time to explore and experience various activities. They are not actually pressured to transfer from one skill or one knowledge to another. They savor the learning experience. Fourth is students learn how to take an active role in their own education. They don't believe in the idea that children are just passive recipients of information, that they just sit down, look at the teacher, and listen to what the teacher says. That's not happening in the Waldorf curriculum. What happens is that learners are supported by the teachers by providing the necessary concrete activities they need in order to explore and discover new ideas, skills, and concepts. From discovering the alphabet in the 1st grade to discovering anatomy, algebra, and history in the 8th grade, and all the way up through their high school studies, Waldorf students take part in the learning process by creating their own textbooks. I mentioned this a while ago. They also do beautifully drawn journals containing stories essays, poems, maps, illustrations, lab descriptions, and math equations. Imagine how children are doing in their own learning process. Fifth is Waldorf schools produce well-rounded individuals. Waldorf curriculum targets the development of the child as a whole. It promotes holistic development other than focusing in one or two areas of development. So all students in a Waldorf school study math and science and learn foreign languages. They also play an instrument and sing in chorus. And they all learn handwork and take movement classes and perform in the class play. The goal in Waldorf education is to expose children to a wide range of experiences and to develop within them many interests and capabilities. This in turn leads to well-balanced young people with high levels of confidence in their ability to apply skills developed in one area to another and the knowledge that they can master anything. Six is Waldorf educated individuals have a lifelong passion for learning. In Waldorf schools, education is not measured by competition and test scores. They don't use numerical values to measure students' progress. Waldorf schools are sometimes erroneously seen as art schools because of the excessive use of music, art, and expression activities. These music, art, and expression activities help in developing creativity, invention, and exploration skills among their learners. Waldorf education seeks to support the health of the learners so that they can optimally realize their highest potential as human beings. Health is meant in a holistic sense and not only in the sense of bodily well-being. Questions of nutrition and a healthy home environment are frequent topics of discussion at parent evenings. There is a strong focus on providing specialized therapies such as curative eurythmy that support children with barriers to learning. Evaluation is part of a culture of educational quality development, and the aim is that every aspect of the curriculum is regularly reviewed and evaluated. The evaluation is done by both the individual teacher and the faculty of teachers. It is also done by the Federation Council, which conducts an annual survey of schools. The intention is to extend the scope of this from academic to other teaching and administrative standards. Qualitative is also given emphasis in the Waldorf curriculum, meaning to say formative assessment helps teachers to monitor their students' progress and to modify the instruction accordingly. It also helps students to monitor their own progress by incorporating feedback. So when you say qualitative, these do not include numerical values like scores or test scores. It's more on descriptions or statements for student feedback, and these are detailed feedback to help learners understand their strengths and weaknesses in the various activities. Self-governing by consensus of a group of teachers provides creative autonomy as a foundational skeleton which enables children to learn by examples. Multiple intelligences is also a key because children are measured as individuals versus based upon universal criteria to allow for multiple and differential intelligences. They also utilize the same teacher over multiple years in order to build long-term relationships, and this is also similar to the Reggio Emilia approach where the learners stay with the same teachers for several years, and you call that looping. They also have greeting activities like they shake each student's hand and make eye contact. as each enters the class. This strategy allows the teacher to check in on each student at the start of the day. Students will line up at the door, eager for a one-on-one moment with the teachers. So I think some of the teachers in the Philippines also do this. They also have a buddy system with students in an older grade. The cross-age pals at the John Moore's Waldorf Method School meet once a month to learn about building solid relationships with both younger and older students. What they do or what happens in the buddy system is an older learner is paired with a younger learner, and they actually exchange various learnings from their school. They also let students illustrate their own workbooks. That is why they draw their own or they create their own textbooks. They have students draw out math and reading lessons to integrate art in their curriculum. And they also get students outside through nature walks and gardening. They do weekly nature walks in a local park or natural area, which will also become basis or scaffolds for science lessons, as the teacher answers students' questions about the natural world. So that's how they understand the world around them. They are brought outside. They are not confined in the four walls of their classroom. A school garden can allow students to connect with nature and learn how plants grow. They also practice musical instruments during class transitions. They give each student a recorder and have the whole class follow the teacher by playing a few notes at class breaks. They also make sure that each student plays specific instrument. The students will enjoy mixing short music lessons into everyday learning. They also allow kids to be active during lessons because remember, one of the focus in this Waldorf curriculum is movement or rhythmic movement. So they also allow kids to be active during lessons, and the whole class will enjoy getting out of their chairs to do physical activities such as stomping their feet and counting out numbers to begin learning multiplication. This curriculum is from the Waldorf curriculum is from early childhood education to high school. Okay, we're done with the Waldorf curriculum. If you have questions, you can put them in the comment sections or you can just post them in our Q&A section in our Facebook group. That's it. Goodbye, teachers. Have a nice day.